So, Bitter Creek Take 2, I suppose. And I will have to struggle through this, because it's the second to last level, and as a result, it's rather difficult. One of the things I don't know is whether the time limit on each of these industries is shorter as the levels progress. I've never actually looked at the source code for this game, and I think that given that it's got all these color graphics and everything, it might be difficult to sort through, even though on a Commodore 64 viewing source code is usually very, very easy, because normally all you have to do is to load the program but not run it, and then type in list. And then instead of getting the directory, it'll give you the source code. But the problem is that you get pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of source code whenever you have a game that's this complex. Because in a Commodore 64 game, you don't generally have image resource files. You have to code everything into the game. It would be interesting history to go through all the methods they used to convert graphics efficiently for the Commodore to use, because what I've been told is a lot of games for various platforms in the 80s were originally developed on Silicon Graphics workstations and converted, essentially, to run on the different platforms. Ported, in technical terms. So Commodore 64 software was frequently not developed on a Commodore 64. Even though I've said it's very, very easy to look at source code because all of the source code is so native it doesn't even need to be compiled. It will just run as is. I don't actually know what paradigm that would be, because it's not really an interpreted language because it's in the firmware. Where you can have code uncompiled, which will immediately run natively without any plugins on a computer. Java and Python aren't really the same thing because they require an interpreter to be installed. All Commodore software at the end was converted to BASIC, of course, so it was all written in BASIC in its final form, even if, again, somebody may have developed it in a different language to begin with. It's not something you generally see today, that's for sure. I mean, obviously you have Python scripts and you have, JavaScript, HTML, and all these different languages which remain in their original form when they're run, but they always rely on an interpreter. That's the thing. So finally I'm hitting my stride here. I have 3 sections of track up in the upper left there. Let's see how I do in the next few minutes. Maybe some of the reason why I play this game more competently now than when I was a teenager is that I have a lot more patience with it. I don't get distracted or frustrated and try to rush it. I just keep a steady effort going until I win, essentially. But some of the Commodore 64 games that I've played through before, I mean, they are genuinely difficult. If you want to take another train game as an example, Agent USA is a very, very hard game. Because, among other things, it's not just about patience, but the gameplay itself is very challenging. Even when you consider you don't have jumps and all this other stuff that you might have in Super Mario Brothers or something like that. This game, however, is for an adult, not so difficult at all. Which is funny, because I think probably far more adults play this than ever played Agent USA back in the old days. I mean, it was a scholastic game aimed at kids, but quite difficult, as I said. Scholastic actually weren't primarily a software company, they were primarily a publisher. Spinnaker, however, who made this game, were basically an educational software company that evolved later to be a productivity software company. And once they were merged into the learning company, they swung back in their old direction, but the Spinnaker brand is rarely used today. Generally, anything sold by the learning company is sold as a learning company product. And I haven't seen a port of this game yet to Android or anything like that. That may or may not happen. Trying to unload the logs there. And the track out is almost done. We're almost ready to go to the final level here. Yes, okay to go to the next town, which will be Colorado Springs. Which is a pretty big city compared to everything else in the game. I'm actually going backwards to Colorado Springs. No reason you can't do it that way. You don't have to do it any other way.